everybody. Welcome to the Next Show. I'm your host, Eddie V. Joining me, as always, is the wise Wisconsinite.
How's it going?
Yes. And bossman himself, Mr. Corey Derrick.
Yo, I was waiting for you to say Jesse's name.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was too. I'm like,
oh man, this has
and Jesse, I'm sorry.
this has been quite a week. Let me tell you. And so, Ed and I were recording the retro game show last night, and Ed kept giving me that eye that said, "Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it." But I can't stop talking about it. But it's been an exciting week for sure.
Yes. So, just to get heads up, everybody, Ray is not able to make this episode. He is doing Extra Life. So, shout out to everybody who are playing games for Extra Life. Go and check out those players, or if you do see some of your favorite streamers doing it, go out and donate. Help contribute. But for us, we got a great show. We are hinting at some new things and that is coming up. So if you've seen our YouTube page, just know great things are coming. Just would say that right now.
Yeah, and you know, just to further elaborate on that point a little bit, like one of the episodes in the next couple weeks is all we're going to talk about is what we're doing for the future, right? And there's not going to be really any news. We're just going to have a big discussion on like what we're doing, what our goals are, you know, what we're becoming, and what we hope to achieve with what we're doing in the near future. So, I mean, like I told Ed yesterday 5 billion times, I'm extremely excited. I'm beyond excited. So
yes. Jesse is cooking up a hot track.
Oh my gosh, dude, Jesse, that
we can't. That track
so
is so good.
Oh, dude, I was like, I wonder what a theme song could be like, and like, literally the moment I thought that, you sent me that first draft of it, and I'm like, that's it. That's what I want. That's exactly what I want.
I was trying to go out for like a boss like type of theme, like kind of.
Yes, but like the final battle kind of.
Ed's really trying to get us to shut up about this. So.
Well, because our AX mascot Lennon has shown up. He's in the background on the couch, and every time I see Lennon, I'll be like, I gotta show representation and love, because he is still our AX mascot. But yeah, I kind of placed us under an NDA in a sense, because we want to do this right. We want to make sure that when everything rolls out, it's good to go, and not only is it going to be a relief for us, but it's going to be just like literally exciting. So you guys will be able to hear the new content that's coming, the new theme song, and just more. Like, get prepared, get ready, because we are coming. We are preparing. We are getting ready, and it's going to be. When it's actually out there, it's going to be such a relief for all of us.
Yeah. Plus, like, after everything that happened this week, like talking to you guys and coming up with all this has just been. It's been one of the, like, a lot of things are happening that have kind of been like, bleh for me. But like after talking to you guys and like coming up with this stuff, it's just been like, it's been like one of those things where like I get to take my mind off of that to focus on this, and it makes it's just so exciting. I'm so, you know, I mean I know I don't really say this enough, but like I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate like having you guys as partners and friends, and you know, I mean the same to Ray too, even though he's not here, right? Like this goes out to him too, you know, like I just really appreciate the friendship that we have here, and like, you know, I know like in the past maybe I haven't like communicated stuff well enough, or have done a lot of things like trying to make things better when maybe like I should have talked to people first or something. But like I really want you guys to know that I appreciate the work you guys put in on this show, and the streams that we do, and ideas that we've come up with, and you know, I want to say I appreciate you guys, and thanks for, being friends, I guess. So
yeah, and the same goes for you guys, for me as well. I mean, like I said, I in the chat a couple of times recently that I look forward to this like every single weekend. It's a lot of fun, and I do it like for like every day if we could.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully one day we'll have insert name here daily.
I keep in touch with everybody, and we have multiple discussions. So, yes, we'll go right there. Jesse, we will continue that discussion one day that we had this week.
Yeah,
because that one was good. We didn't get to finish it, but we will have it probably online a little bit later. But everybody, I am gonna have to skip the housekeeping because of the new stuff that is coming. I was going to do some housekeeping, but I thought about it and be like, no, we got something bigger and grand coming up. So when that comes out, there's going to be new housekeeping and notes to give everybody.
And,
so we're going
and just to be clear with the housekeeping, like, if you want to follow us, like if you're not already following us, like go, if this is like your first show into the NX show, like you can follow us, but just subscribe to the podcast, and where you can find us, just follow each of us on Twitter or social media or whatever, because we're going to have a whole bunch of new places for you to follow us soon. So
yes.
That's basically what Ed's saying. I'm glad I just repeated what Ed just said. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just too excited, just like, ah.
Yes. So be prepared, everybody. Be prepared. So we're going to get to this gaming get down, and I'm actually going to start because Luigi's Mansion has literally just entered my Game of the Year nomination, and not because the game looks beautiful, because the game looks gorgeous. The animation, everything, just like the little touches, the details in there is so on point. The gameplay is fantastic. It's exceptional. It's not hard to get into. I haven't gotten into Luigi yet, but I will be getting into him. The reason why it literally got put on the list was because, and pretty much a lot of people agree with this, seeing Toad drive a bus, and all you see in the cutscene is his hand and this little hat, and he's just driving the bus, and Mario, Luigi, and Peach and the other Toads just like, yeah, this is normal. And it's just like, wait, what is going on? The game, the comedy in this game is on point. It's so sarcastic, it's so funny, but it's really, really good. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to get into more levels and play more of this. It feels a little bit of Metroid, where there is some backtracking, but like this game feels like you can probably beat it in 8 to 12 hours, but if you want to get everything, it may jump up to 15, because there's a lot to this game, and I can't wait to play more. My second game that I'm actually playing is Murdered Soul Suspect. I started that up on Xbox One. I didn't get to the rest of my Halloween games like Dead Space or The Last of Us. Those two I will be getting into, and Resident Evil 5 once I finish Murder Soul Spec. I'm gonna jump into Dead Space because I was working on it, but then I stopped. But I'm gonna jump back into that. But Murder Soul Spec, I think it's worth the $5 that I paid for it.
I think it was free at one point on Games with Gold, and I think that's how I got it.
Yeah, I think so.
I will recommend people to play this. Just it's not too hard. There's not too much challenge in it, with the battles and stuff, because there's not much combat. But it looks like it's an interesting game, and it looked like it could have had a sequel to it. I think when it came out, I think they were charging $60 for it. But I kind of feel like this would have been a nice $20 game. It's Square Enix have released it at $20, I think people would have picked it up more and brought it. But it's not a bad game. Like I have no ill will toward it. Like I am thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's about kind of like 5 to 6 hours if you play through everything, and then it can get shorter because if you know everything what you need to do, it could be a little bit shorter so you can run through some things and make it probably through 3.5 hours. If you want to straight through, but it's a really cool kind of detective game. It's not like Phoenix Wright or anything, but it's a nice little like adventure style game. So I'm definitely enjoying that. And I haven't did anything on my PS4 yet because I'm going through the list of what I want to get through. After The Last of Us, like I think that's my next game that I want to get through, but then there's some other backlog stuff that I want to work on and get through, like the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC, Corey. Like I want to start that and get through that. So and also everybody, I've been talking about my car being in the shop and everything, but once that all situated and once my finances get back into a reasonable spot, I will be on Call of Duty. Hopefully I could get Destiny 2, Shadowkeep, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Wreckfest. Yes, I still need to get to. Me and you, Jesse, we got to run through some more Remnant from the Ashes because I am fiending to play with you so bad. But I really do.
That game is so fun.
Yeah, I really want to get into that Call of Duty Modern Warfare story because it seems like it's not too long. I think it's 6 to 8 hours, I'm hearing. But a lot of people are really enjoying it. And also congratulations to Activision for like this Call of Duty has been got the series back on track. I think they did 600 million in 3 days, something like that.
Yeah,
I think that was.
It's like what was it, like the highest gross sales or something in Call of Duty in a 3-day span?
Yes,
in this generation or something.
Yes,
so.
And I really think that this game did well because it did digitally, then it did physically. Because I was kind of interested in the physical sales, but I think a lot of people bought this like digitally.
Yeah, I think that's the trend though, right? Especially with multiplayer games where like people are starting to buy more and more physical. Where like I think last year was like the first year that digital sales outdid physical sales. And I think that trend is continuing this year, especially with like a lot of games as a service. And because like, to be honest, there's really no reason to own a disc for games as a service because once they update, right, like your disc is out of date and if you need to be connected to the internet, like that disc is out of date and whatever, you can't play it, right? So
well, and I think it helps that like I've got now a 4 terabyte hard drive for my Xbox One, and I paid under $100 for it. So like I mean, that was just unheard of to be able to get something that big for that cheap. Right. You know, just a few years ago.
That's a really good deal, man. Like literally a really good deal.
I mean, Amazon usually has those things on sale a lot, but I mean, still, still like memory is getting cheaper by the day, and for these consoles to have expandable memory is really key to the digital growth, I think. So
well, it's funny because, and we'll talk a little about this in probably in news. It's funny that Xbox and PS4 is doing a lot of digital sales, and Nintendo is doing digital and physical. It's literally crazy that Nintendo is kind of like Switch at this moment is the only one that's doing both and doing both very well. It's very weird.
I think it's the fact that people just don't like. For me, the reason why I started converting to digital on Switch, which I still buy the games that I want physically, right? Like I have Zelda physically and Fire Emblem and those games physically. But I just think people are kind of afraid of losing the cartridges, you know, or like because they're so tiny. Like you have like Xbox and PlayStation. If you're collecting physically, it's different, right? Because the discs are big and the cases are bigger, and you know you can just swap out the discs or whatever. And but for Switch, like you have even the cases that keep 12 or 24 cartridges in them are tiny, and if you lose that, like, you're screwed. You know, like that's a tiny cartridge for you to lose, and for someone who has a small child running around, I don't want her swallowing the cartridge, even though they're made to taste bad to kids. Like, my kid's gonna be the one kid that thinks they taste good and puts all of them in her mouth. You know, like so. I keep my cartridges in the box, and you know, I for certain games I do have both, but the games I really love, I do keep physical just in case, you know, we have that whatever crash. But at that point, I think we might have bigger issues to worry about if, like, we can't connect to the internet anymore. So
yes. So so that's pretty much what I've been doing. I'm headed over to you, Corey. What games have you been getting down to?
I mean, this week has really been more about prepping for our next step, so I haven't really played much in terms of newer games. I did play a little bit more of the Outer Worlds, which I do really like that game a lot. I like the art direction of that game. The future retro future tech in there is really cool. I like the way that the characters interact with each other. I just think the world and the world building in particular is very, very smartly done. And I think Microsoft has a new IP on their hands that, you know, the thing for me is like, I heard this on another show too. I forget what show I was listening to, but they said that, like, this is basically having this game on PlayStation and PC and, you know, Switch eventually is free advertising pretty much for a new Xbox IP next gen, you know? And, like, people who get super invested in the Outer Worlds, right, might consider an Xbox next gen, or, you know, if not that, even, like, at least get Game Pass for PC so they can play the next game, you know?
Yes.
But, you know, it's getting those other ecosystems interested in an Xbox IP. And so, I think the Outer Worlds is super smart and super well done. And I think Obsidian has always been one of those developers that have always gotten the shaft in terms of, like, developing games, right? Like, Knights of the Old Republic 2 had a lot of great ideas, but they had to put that game out in like 10 months, which, you know, I think it had a lot of great ideas, but the game just wasn't long enough to see those ideas fall through. Like, you talk about Knights of the Old Republic 2, you get to like conversate with people and train other people to be Jedi. Like, that's such a cool concept for a Star Wars RPG, right? And then, you know, the Fallout New Vegas fiasco where they needed an 85 on Metacritic to get bonuses from Bethesda, and they got like an 84.1 or something on Metacritic, and that whole thing, which now, you know, Fallout New Vegas is widely considered to be the best Bethesda Fallout game. So, and then, you know, you got Alpha Protocol, which was like their test for a new IP, which I liked Alpha Protocol. I don't think it was great, but I liked the idea of it, where it's basically like you're creating your own version of James Bond and you're going around solving crimes and stuff. It was cool. I really liked it. And then, you know, the first South Park game, RPG was really great. And now, this, right? And that's not even mentioning like their classic RPGs and IP and stuff. So this is just within the last 10 or 15 years they did all this. So, you know, Obsidian, I think finally with the Outer Worlds, they're finally getting the recognition that I think they've probably deserved for at least a decade. So, you know, I really like the Outer Worlds. It's great. It's fantastic. I love the character creator. I think it's really fun to create your characters. Like, I love good character creators. There's something about it. Like, how many times have I complained about Destiny's character creator? Right? It's just it's terrible. As much as I love Destiny, like, it's just that character creator is just awful.
And in my opinion, the wrestling games always set the standard for me as like the best character, like, because I used to buy the wrestling games just to create characters. That was the only reason I bought them. Is just because I could just create characters and like you could share them online and all that kind of good stuff eventually. But yeah, like that when you have millions of options and you can like tweak every little bit of like what their faces look like and all that stuff, it's so much nicer.
And another game that had a really good character creator was Mass Effect Andromeda, right? Like I think the character creator in Mass Effect was awesome. So I really appreciate a great character creator. The Outer Worlds is a game I think a lot of people should play, especially if you're itching for some sort of Fallout experience or just a great RPG in general where you can pretty much play the whole game without fighting anybody too. You know, you can spec your character out to be like stealthy or like people are afraid when you're walking by to where the marauders like run away. Or you can talk your way out of a lot of fights, you know, those sorts of things. I think that is a really cool option to have in a game. So, but I'm still on that first planet. Like I'm really just wandering around, looking at everything. And I think I mentioned this on last week's show, but I was streaming it, and someone in my chat was like, "Is your stream frozen?" Because I was literally just looking at the art in the game, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I forgot I was streaming." So the Outer Worlds, and then just some stuff on Switch like Fire Emblem and Tetris. I'm really trying to finish a lot of games for Game of the Year discussions. You know, I every year I say I'm going to play more games, and every year I find myself having more projects to do. But you know, now that I only have one project to focus on, which is us now, so that's I think that's probably going to change within the coming year. So, I'm enjoying Tetris and Fire Emblem as well when I'm falling asleep. So that's about all I've been playing. So I do have some games on my list that I'm going to start this week probably. I want to get back to Control. I want to finish Control. I want to play more Destiny, and I want to finish the Outer Worlds. So those are hopefully next weekend I'll have that to talk about. So yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. For Jesse,
me,
go ahead.
Yeah, for me, so like I've only got 2 more missions left, and I'll have finished Modern Warfare's campaign. I worked on it a little bit again this morning when I got home, and man, dude, this campaign is so good. Like I think is it a lot of twists and turns to this one? Kind of, but it's not so much that. It's just they've created a story and they've created situations and things like that for the characters that actually make me care about the characters that you're seeing throughout the story. Like they they do some pretty like gut-wrenching type, like they put you in some situations, we'll just say, like that are like really, like if you just really think about it, you can understand like when it, because like, you know, like for me personally, like, you know, I understand that sometimes war is inevitable, but like but you've like I also can, you know, put myself into a situation where you've got to think that like, yes, like there's always going to be an enemy, but there's also a lot of the people that are around those areas are most likely innocent people, and you can see where when you're, you know, these people that live in these like war-torn areas, like where what they're doing, like it, you know, may seem, you know, bad to us, but like at what point is it like not just people trying to do what they have to survive, and you know, like the human body, the human mind's gonna what it's got to do to survive, and you know, like it makes you think, like the the story really makes you think and look at things from from different perspectives. And I think that sometimes that they don't do enough of that kind of stuff in war games, where where it's just kind of oh, it's just another war game. you know that I feel like they actually are pretty well thought out. Now there's some things in the game that they've kind of been getting a little bit of blowback from people from respectively. I do think it's kind of crappy for them to have taken like a real something that really happened in real life, and instead of making it the Americans who did it, they made it as another country did it instead. So a lot of people are pretty upset about that.
I don't know, I haven't heard nothing about that.
Yeah,
it's been I mean it's been across the internet about like something that I guess the Americans were involved in and like kind of at fault for, and then this game turning around and like making it like a
Russian thing. Blaming the Russians for it, which is that's which I when we had our conversation a while ago, Ed, about the unfortunate situations with when games like this are made. A lot of times there's propaganda or propaganda involved, and it's unfortunate that happens. But but like as far as a story, like the storyline goes, it's like they put you in some really interesting situations. Like at one point you play one of the characters as a child, and and things like that, and so there's like some shifting of time to kind of really give you a backstory and understanding of how the characters that you meet got there. And every single time they play a cutscene, man, I'm just like, holy crap, it looks so real. Like I cannot get over how it looks like live, like a live footage, recordings
I wonder if they motion captured a lot.
Well, they did. They did a lot of motion capturing. But it's still like you can tell that it's a video game, but at the same time, like you really have to look, and it's only certain characters that are more apparent that it's digital,
but the detail,
the detail is
that they
like
put in
the hair. The hair, like hair is usually one thing that gives it away, that it's not real life. But they did so well on the design of hair to make it look like real hair. Like you see like every little strand, or like with the girls, they have like some strands of hair that will be going up top. And like in the beards and everything, they look so like it just looks so real. It's crazy.
This kind of reminds me of like the way you talk about this is when we saw Tomb Raider on Next Gen for the first time, and they were talking about Lara's hair and like how they were like, communicating about how they developed new technology for Next Gen specifically because hair has always been like, I mean, up until that point, hair had always been just, it looked like a helmet textured to be hair, right? And that's why a lot of protagonists in last gen games were kind of bald with some scruffy like beards or whatever, because like hair is so hard to model. And like I know a lot of people were complaining that like last gen they didn't like everybody was like a scruffy white dude, right? And like a lot of developers came out and said it's because hair is hard to model, and making a bald character is the easiest way to get, have that, so I sympathize with that. But also like this gen, like hair in particular has been kind of a joke this gen, like just because everybody's always talking about how real their hair looks. But like I watched, like I think Giant Bomb had like an hour and a half quick look on Modern Warfare, and I watched it, and like some of the cutscenes and stuff. Like the character models look phenomenal. Like this is arguably one of the best looking games this gen, I would argue.
Yeah, by far.
And they were playing on a PS4 Pro, which, you know, if somebody was playing on an Xbox One X or a beefed up PC, I'm sure it would look even better. But like the character models and stuff is like, we've almost reached that point where Uncanny Valley almost doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It is so
real. It's crazy because, like, especially the lighting, and now I can only imagine with ray tracing this game, like, because the lighting already in the game looks so realistic, but if you add the ray tracing and stuff like that, I think it would just be like so perfect.
Which is funny that you mentioned that, Jesse, because like Digital Foundry, with some of the games that they're playing on PC, they've been bringing up ray tracing a lot now. Like, I think ever since like Sony mentioned it for PS5, it's been coming up a lot. So they're now showing what ray tracing could do in PC. So maybe when we see PS5 and Scarlet, we'll actually get to see more of what ray tracing does, and that may become like a factor in big budget AAA games.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's being talked about is it's becoming a little bit more readily available, and more developers are using it because of that, because more and more people are able to have the settings for it and stuff on their cards and stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of like it's in the infant stage, and or at least it was. And so it's been around for, a while now, but we're finally getting more options and more developers who are taking advantage of it. So,
anything else you've been playing, Jesse? Or that's been it?
Yeah, I played. Speaking of, I played some Wreckfest this morning as well, because Modern Warfare had to update. So I'm like, well, what can I play while I'm waiting? And so I played a couple races in my campaign on that, or the career, I should say. And it's a great game. The only thing that game is plagued by is because it is so realistic and just that game just really needs a beefy like PC or something to really, get it running at what it should be at. So unfortunately it has some awful load times. But it's just, there's so much to that game is just tries so hard to be realistic looking and stuff, and yeah, so unfortunately there's a lot to load up and stuff like that. So that's a game that I'm hoping will get a massive upgrade for next gen, because the way that it runs on PC, it looks like a Forza game, where it's super realistic looking. But unfortunately on console, they had to really kind of cut back a lot of the realism stuff, I think, to get it to work on there, which is fine, because it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal, for something like that, but it just would be cool to see it running at, like Forza style, realism graphics and things like that. So, but, yeah, I played that. And then I did play, last weekend on Sunday or whatever, I played some Blair Witch. And that's still a good game, but I keep on running into just tiny little glitch issues with it, where things just don't seem to be working correctly, the way they should or whatever, which is really unfortunate, because that game is I think it is really good when it's working properly. And I kind of part of me wants to message them and say, hey man, fix this game, because what you have here is really good. It's just, I keep on having little issues where just things won't trigger when they're supposed to, or whatever,
And
So
hopefully they're still working on a patch, some updates. Hopefully they're still working on the game and not just like put it out there and then moved on. Cause,
yeah, that's what it almost feels like though, because I feel like I haven't had any updates or anything for it since I got it. So that's not a good sign, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, I did play some the tiny rooms or whatever, the game that I had on my mobile that I've been playing. It's one of those.
I think it just came to Switch, and I think it's.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I think it's $1.50 on Switch or something. It's like
nice.
It's like really cheap because I think we were talking. I was scrolling through the eShop last night because I do that sometimes. I just scroll through the eShop to see if there's anything weird or interesting. I mean, that's how I found Hook, right? One of our games of the year.
Yeah.
But and I think it's called Tiny Rooms, right? Like it.
Yeah, Tiny Room or whatever.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick that up if it's on there because it's a good game. Like it's a good one of those games where if you just got a couple of minutes and you just want to solve one of the one of the rooms or whatever you want to call them, and then and then just be done, and it's a good game. It takes a little bit of thinking. You really gotta think, and it makes you use your brain quite a bit, but it's a fun little game.
And if you guys do have a Switch and you got Nintendo points, I say use your Nintendo points.
Let's see,
where
is
it?
So I'll find it eventually. I was just scrolling through here and
okay.
Oh, well, right. It's in the coming soon section. It's coming soon to Switch.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be buying it then because they definitely deserve the money, because the version I have is free on my phone, but I'm gonna probably do the money thing eventually and give them some money because I think they did a really good job on it, and there's very, very rarely does a phone game come along that I truly really enjoy to the point of where I feel like I should have had to pay for it, So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, we're going to move on to our news bits. We got a couple of stories. Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 has been announced for bits. Xbox, PS4, and PC. They did announce the Nintendo Switch version of Overwatch 2, but we don't know if we're still getting Diablo 4 just yet. I think they mentioned it a little bit later after the reveal of it. I don't know why they didn't mention it with the other consoles, but I guess Blizzard had a plan because everybody was wondering where the Switch version of Overwatch 2. You guys could check the cinematics. You guys could check the gameplay of them. Have you guys took a look at them? I know Overwatch 2 would now have story missions and different PvP and PvE missions and hero missions and stuff like that. But a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, this is just Overwatch 1.5," but I'm happy that this part 2 is coming out. Diablo 4, it looks like someone said, I'm so happy that they're incorporating the some of the stuff from Diablo 2 because I now have the inability to see where the world I'm going, because I guess Diablo 3 was so dark you couldn't see where you was going that time. So maybe they fixed Diablo 4, who knows. Any thoughts about these two games, anybody?
I just kind of had heard about Overwatch, but I haven't really been paying too much attention to it, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm excited for Overwatch 2. I think and if they're definitely going to add some more things to do than just the online stuff, that's kind of cool. So
it's like, I know a lot of people were talking about how Overwatch was that you're going to be able to keep your skins and stuff that you unlocked during Overwatch 1, and they all carry over,
okay.
which means all the heroes are probably coming over, right? So
Yes.
It's weird. Overwatch 2 almost sounds like an expansion to Overwatch 1, right? Like
Yeah.
that was my first thought, was like, well, if people can carry over their skins and their loot and stuff like that, like, why wouldn't you just have like a $30 expansion to Overwatch 1? Like that game has sold so many copies and so many people still play that game. Why would you bother putting out a sequel? Why wouldn't you just have like an expansion, you know? Like World of Warcraft, every time they put it, like, it's not like they're on World of Warcraft 10, right? Like they just keep putting out new expansions, people keep playing it. And like, granted, I know it's a different type of game, but like the goals of the audience is still the same, right? Like you want people to keep playing your game and spending money in your game and stay in that ecosystem, right? So I don't know why they didn't just say, hey, here's a $30 expansion that's going to have, you know, new content, single player content. You know, the maps will be free, but if you want this set of content, you're going to have to, you know, give us $30, which I think they would have been more than happy to do that, right? So I don't know. It's just weird that they're putting out a sequel, especially if all the heroes are like staying the same. And it's not like hero abilities haven't changed. Like a lot of the heroes in Overwatch play completely different than they did when it launched. Like Mercy, for example, had that resurrection move where if anybody that was down in a vicinity, everybody was resurrected, right? And they changed her special. They changed a few other characters' specials to where they play completely different than they did at launch. So, I don't know. It's like it's fine. Like every game gets a sequel these days, right? Like it's just part of the system. But like to me, the Overwatch sequel is similar to like the Division sequel, where like I feel like, you know, Ubisoft said that it didn't meet expectations, and I feel like Overwatch might not initially meet their expectations, although it will eventually, I think, because Overwatch League is so big and Blizzard's community is very vocal and very, you know, proud of their Blizzard fandom, and you know, but that's just my take. Like a Diablo sequel is a little bit more understandable because, like, you know, it's almost a whole new game at this point, right? Like Diablo, new classes, new levels, new story, all that kind of stuff. Single player experiences and, you know, co-op experience is a little bit different than a multiplayer experience.
It's very weird though that, you know, these two games got announced, and I thought people would be talking about it throughout the day. But no, people went right back to like Pokemon and Luigi's Mansion and Death Stranding.
I don't know. I think a lot of people.
That's weird.
A lot of people in my feed were talking about Overwatch and you know, Overwatch 2 specifically. You know, I don't really follow a lot of people that play Diablo, but I know my one friend is obsessed with Diablo, and the first thing he did was text me. He's like, "Dude, new Diablo coming, sweet." And I'm like, "Yep, cool." You know, like like. People in my feeds are talking about it, but you know.
What about you, Jesse? Anyone in your feed talking about it?
No, I really haven't. But honestly, like you know, like there's like a couple of like gaming communities that I follow on Facebook and stuff like that. But honestly, like I haven't really seen much of either.
I mean, some of the streamers that we play with and follow are talking about Overwatch too, but like, you know, it's more those type of people and people that are into Overwatch League than like just the general public. I think. You know, that's what I meant by like the Blizzard community is super proud and vocal about stuff, you know. And funny how two major game announcements totally erased the Hong Kong protest thing that happened just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it didn't erase because people called BS on that little apology that he gave when he started. But
it's exactly what you know, in a separate conversation, I said, watch, if they announce three major games, which they did, they announced the Hearthstone expansion, they announced the World of Warcraft expansion, they announced Diablo 4, and they announced Overwatch 2. nobody's talking about the China stuff anymore. Like,
they've been
it wasn't
posting
unexpected,
stuff, but...
and I'm like not mad about it. It's just something I noticed. Like, that's the internet for you. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to move on. Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto to be recognized as a person of cultural merit in Japan. The story comes from Nintendo Life. You're probably more than aware of his name, and you definitely be more than aware of his work. So it seems fitting that Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto is set to be recognized as a person of cultural merit in his home country of Japan. The Super Mario and Legend of Zelda creator is one of the most famous developers to ever walk Nintendo's sparkling halls, working with the company since 1977. You'll mostly know him thanks to his works on franchises like those mentioned above, Star Fox, Donkey Kong, and more, as well as his brilliant appearances at E3. But he's currently serving as creative fellow at the company, enjoying a role which is a little less hands-on and more directorial. To be recognized as a person of cultural merit is a substantial award to receive. It's an official Japanese honor which is only awarded once a year. Those who have made outstanding contributions to the country's culture can be selected, with authors, actors, and the like usually taking the title. But Miyamoto has become the first from the video game world to find his name among so many greats. In a translation provided by Cheese Meister, Miyamoto-san has said, "I'm thankful that light is being shined upon the genre of games," going on to note that this is a job where you can't do anything by yourself. So that's cool. Him and we talked about Reggie, talking about getting his award and talking about who he mains and stuff in his favorite game. It's good to see that like Miyamoto winning, having that kind of title or winning something that big. I mean, 77 years, like, good night. That's crazy. He's been in the industry for 42 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he got some titles under his name.
Yeah.
And I still think he, to me personally, and I said this on Pop, like he's my number one developer, creator, and inspiration when it comes to video games. Like, yeah. He's always been number one, and he's always stayed number one. Whether how people take his games or not, you cannot deny the fact that like he is an inspiration to everybody, and he's just so creative, and like he has a passion for games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny, he's been in it so long and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Zelda and Zelda and Mario, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. So
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an icon and a legend for sure, and kind of surprised he hasn't received it already, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not just Japan, but culture and in general. Like you have to think like Donkey Kong and Super Mario Brothers kicked off like this phenomenon that, even if you aren't a Nintendo fan, like those, like he and like creating those games, he made what games are today and what game culture is today, right? Like,
yes,
he inspired so many people, and that, like, look at something like Shovel Knight in general, right? They kickstarted that game, and it came to Nintendo consoles first because they were so inspired by, Nintendo and, the work that Miyamoto did when Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong and all these other Nintendo games were coming out in the 80s. So, it's important. He deserves it. He's a cultural icon, and I'm a little surprised he hasn't gotten it already. So
yes, just Miyamoto. I know you don't watch this, but keep making games.
You don't know. He could be listening to it right now.
Like,
he could be our biggest fan.
Like, keep being an inspiration. I just want Miyamoto to always be an inspiration, a leading example of a game developer.
I mean, his
his work.
His creations are why, Ed and I started Power Block like 4 years ago, right? Like that's, and I know this isn't Nintendo Power Block, but that's why we started, because of our love of Nintendo and like growing up playing his games, like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So inspired us directly.
Yeah.
So
now they just need to make an achievement in the next Halo game that's dedicated to him, like they did with
oh goodness. Okay, so let's jump on that real quick. So it was announced that the art director from Halo, I think Halo 4 or the Halo series, he's coming over to Retro and being their art director for Metro Prime 4. There are his works that you can see. Pretty much when you seen the Halo 4 trailer, it had that retro look, because some of the people who are retro left and went to 343 Studios.
Yeah, Jesse, we were when Ed and I were talking about it earlier this week, like, you go to his ArtStation portfolio, like,
okay.
You click on, like, he's the lead modeler on all the Spartans and all the Prometheans.
Okay.
So like,
you
especially like when you click on the Spartan Vale, when you click on her character model, you can totally see the Metroid influences on this. Like her character models, like, even though not the finished ones, but the early models, like, they were kind of bigger and with the big shoulder pads and kind of like a bigger kind of suit. Looks like it could be a Metroid Prime upgradable suit.
Yeah.
Like it looks like that. And then like the Prometheans and stuff, just with like the orange glow and the the way, like, in Metroid Prime, her hand cannon, when it kind of comes apart when you're scanning stuff and kind of forms back together and everything, like, the Prometheans really have that dynamic, and like just seeing the Metroid influences and him coming back around and now working on Metro. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, all those guns with the floating parts you talking about, like, I can't wait.
I was like, Ed, how bad was I geeking out the other night when we were looking at his art station? Dude, I was like, I mean, even though I was like tired, I was like super into this guy's art. Like his.
Are we gonna see all I know is are we gonna see a Spartan outfit that will be a special thing that you'll be able to unlock, or no, you'll have like a Halo looking suit that she can wear.
That's between Nintendo, Microsoft, and 343 Studios and Retro.
Dude, if Nintendo made a deal for, like, you could get a Master Chief character skin to wear as Samus.
Yeah.
DLC, dude, crazy DLC with that, I would straight buy you. I would literally buy a season pass for Metro Prime.
In return, I would like to be able to play as Samus in the new Halo game. That would be awesome.
Like, when I seen this news, I like messaged Corey, like, in caps, sent him the story. It was just like, this is insane, because now I was just like, even though this is just art, this changes kind of Metro Prime 4, because I'm like, they have now got to bring in new weapons to Samus. The world is going to look crazy. Like, it's going to, Retro has to push it. Like, they got to push the limit of the system in this art direction. It's got to be insane. That's all I'll say. We're going to move on, because quickly, Nintendo reconfirms release window for upcoming games. Pokemon Sword and Shield is November 15th. Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE Encore is January 17th, 2020. Animal Crossing New Horizons is March 20th. Xenoblade Chronicles is 2020 sometime. Bayonetta 3, Metro Prime 4, and Breath of the Wild 2 will be to be announced.
That's so
there.
That's so crazy that they're calling it, like, in the press release, they're calling it Breath of the Wild. Aren't they calling it Breath of the Wild 2 in the press release? Or does it say Breath of the Wild sequel?
Breath of the Wild sequel, but everybody is. I think it's because when they did the E3 thing, they put the Breath of the Wild sequel, but everybody's just been calling it 2. Friend.
That's it's still, like, I still can't believe we're getting a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, which makes me so excited. And I told Ed, like, I see this as the middle part of, like, a trilogy.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh,
Yeah,
so
like I know I know, like I've got to stifle my my excitement because it, like, yeah, who knows when it is, but like inside I want to run around like
maybe
Kevin in Home Alone going ah!
maybe
Right.
maybe maybe by the time the sequel comes out, Ed will have beaten the first one.
Nintendo Switch software said 53% in the first half of the fiscal year. He is right, everybody. I'm gonna try to beat it this year. I need to play it. Switch first party software sales through continues to increase, with Nintendo's latest financial results briefing revealing how the first half of this fiscal year has seen an increase of 53% over the previous year. Nintendo shifted 22.0 million units compared to last year's amount of 14.35 million units. Here are like that's really cool. And that's across from Japan, North America, and Europe. So from April to September 2018 was the 14.35. The same amount of time this year jumped up to 22.01. And this is just first party growth. So 53%, that's a big sale, Shantura Furukawa asked the following comments. We have been steadily releasing titles since this summer, and they all have been selling well, leading to growth in sale through in the second quarter. In addition to new titles, our rich library of existing titles released during previous fiscal years also contribute to strong sales. It was further explained how certain titles released before March 2019 have continued to grow, and how evergreen titles remain equally as valuable as new releases on the Switch. The sale through evergreen titles for April to September 2019: Breath of the Wild 1.32 million, Mario Kart 8 1.91 million, Splatoon 2 530,000, Mario Odyssey 840,000, Mario Party 1.4 million, Pokemon Pikachu and
Mario Party's selling like that. Like I guess like I get it, but also it's like it's Mario Party.
Honestly, but I really liked it a lot. I know, like, I don't know what it was, but I didn't really care for the Wii U one wasn't bad, but like I don't know, there was just something about it I didn't care for it as much.
I mean, I guess if you have like friends or kids old enough to play with you, like it's probably way better than sitting there playing by yourself.
Yeah,
which was
and
fun.
Honestly, I haven't really played it that much recently, but we just haven't really gotten a chance to get together, and like do a lot of that stuff. I just in general lately.
Well, I got three more titles. The Pokemon Let's Go 1.22 million, Smash Brothers 1.84 million, and Mario Brothers U Deluxe 1.14 million. So new titles got 37%. Released before end of last fiscal year is 63%. So yeah, Nintendo is killing it, like with their game, with their first party. And it's pretty much, I think, people who are buying the Switch and getting the Switch Lite are getting those old titles and new titles. So that's really good to see. I'm sad that ARMS is not on it though.
I feel like ARMS was one of those, like, it was good that it got out early in the life cycle, right? Like I feel like ARMS got that early buzz because it was a new Nintendo IP on a new console, and
yes,
not to say like games aren't selling like hotcakes now on Switch, because they are, but like that initial rush of games before we knew like third party was going to support it, and the flood of indie games, right? Like there wasn't a lot of quality games coming, and like a new IP from Nintendo on a new console is always very exciting. And like I feel like ARMS is the same way that Pikmin was when the GameCube came out, where like it was a new IP and people were excited to play a new IP to see what it was, and the fact that Nintendo was going to support it for a year with free content and tournaments and stuff. Like ARMS was a very interesting game that I feel like no pun intended, but didn't have legs after like the first 6 months to a year. It sold well initially, right? Like it's still sold like 2 million units, I think, as of today. But like within the first like 2 months, it's sold like 1.4 million units.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm glad ARMS exists, and I would like to see what they would do with some sort of sequel, if they ever do. But like, you know, I think the interest has waned from ARMS because A, it's a fighting game, and fighting games get real niche, you know, and B, something like Splatoon, shooters are way easier to comprehend for newer gamers than fighting games are, and so
so
that's just my opinion. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, right. We're going to get into the last part. November, free games for PS Plus and games for Gold. So for PlayStation, everybody is getting Neo and Outlast 2. I do recommend Neo. Such a great game if you're into the Souls genre game. I think it's better than Bloodborne personally because it feels faster. But I haven't played Outlast 2, but it's going to be available, so I'm down to picking it up and playing it there.
What's free?
Neo and
Neo. Okay, I was like,
Neo and Outlast 2 for PS Plus.
I was like, what game are you talking about? I just missed it. Sorry.
I still haven't gotten anywhere in the first Outlast game. I really should try to play that. It is kind of like when I did play it, I just got a little lost. But I think I just need to restart from the beginning.
Yes. For Xbox Live, games with Gold, Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. You play as beloved Victorian detective Sherlock Holmes as he uncovers the disturbing past of his adopted daughter. The Final Station, part side-scrolling shooter, part train simulator. Final Station is a unique take on the popular zombie apocalypse where you transport survivors seeking safety. Joyride Turbo is a solid arcade racing experience for anyone looking for a kart racer on the Xbox. And then last but not least, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. Play as Jedi pilot in the original Xbox Classic as you explore the Karthak system, decimate enemy ships, and unravel the Trade Federation evil machinations.
Those games were awesome. The Starfighter and Jedi Starfighter games were awesome on the original Xbox.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played the Starfighter ones, but I did download this and I wanted to try it.
Dude, they're so fun. They're so they're just dumb space. Like it kind of has the Rogue Squadron vibe, but simpler. So.
And speaking of older games, I kind of want to. I might even make a video thing of it, just to kind of do a throwback thing of one of my favorite older games. I got Condemned, the Condemned game for 360.
Which one, the first or the second?
The first one. The first one.
First, they said that the number one is really good, but super.
Yeah.
Silly.
It is. It's one of my all-time favorite games. Honestly, and so it's backwards compatible now.
When you're searching, I hate horror games, but I did play Condemned for a little bit, dude. When you're exploring that one room and you turn around and that bear statue. That's Condemned, right? The bear statue is just there. You think you're gonna get attacked by a zombie bear, and it's just a stuffed
I
bear.
think it is. Yeah, I think it is. What Condemned did really well is they would use shadows and things like that in hallways to your advantage. So you hear people rustling around and knocking stuff over. But the room, in the room you're in, is all black except for there'll be light down hallways, and then all of a sudden you'll see someone go running across the light. So you see a shadow go down the hall, and then next thing you know they're coming behind you with coming to hit you, and it's just
Sega,
crazy that.
Why did Sega not put a Halloween sale for Xbox One for that game?
I think that game was on sale just recently. I just bought it a week ago, I think.
Okay.
It was on sale. I think for $5.
I know they did a 360 sale, but I didn't see Condemn on there. Because I got to play Condemned 2, but I never got to play the first one. I heard a lot of great things about Condemned.
Yeah, the second one was such a waste of time. I did not like that game at all, but the first one was so good.
Wasn't the first one like a mix of survival horror and like mystery, like an adventure game? Wasn't it like a mix of that?
Yeah, it's like you've got the whole like where you're scanning things and trying to find evidence and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like a lot like Alan Wake and stuff like that. Like it's got that kind of like feel where you're like this like gritty detective type kind of guy who's just kind of gets into these situations with paranormal activity and stuff that happens. So
okay. Well, everybody, we're going to get it. Yes. And we're going to get into the last part of the show. We didn't do questions this week. We will be coming back to questions sometime soon because I want to have Ray on here when we have our questions. But we got a discussion, and kind of this is a little part where me and Jesse was talking about. I mentioned reviewers versus consumers. And this one deals with outlook versus own. And what I mean by that is like when we see a review for a game that's not out yet, we may jump on the reviewers or jump on that game because it got a certain score compared to when we actually own the game. Do we end up agreeing with the reviewer or we make our own judgment and everything? So I kind of brought this question up. I'm like, what did you guys think about reviewers versus consumers? Like, definitely at this time with Death Stranding, there's mixed reviews coming out, mixed opinions coming about it. Some people are still going to buy it. Some reviewers who have played it and finished it and still haven't finished it, but they got a review up. There, a lot of people are saying that the world is beautiful. But how you go about it, it will be kind of up to you, and depending on what the gameplay is that you like or not, might affect if you will like this game or not. A lot of people are saying that they want people to play it, but they're not actually recommending that this game be owned or played or something like that. What are your guys' thoughts about that? Because like even the Pokemon game, I think it was Alpha. It was one of them that IGN said too much water, and everybody was joking about it. But that was that viewer's opinion, and outlook of that review. And then when everybody's seen it, there's like, we don't care about too much water. It's a Pokemon game. We're gonna buy it, and look how well that game did.
And I think that the Death Stranding case is a very interesting and unique case, specifically because it's Kojima's first game outside of Konami, outside of Metal Gear in a long time. Like, he has full range to do what he wants with a budget, and this is Kojima being full Kojima without any chains or type of restraints from Konami. And I think people are interested in this game based on that alone, and I think a lot of people want to play it because of that and not because of reviews, right? Like, I kind of wasn't expecting this, to be honest with you. Like, I was expecting either everybody gives it a 10 or everybody says it's a dumpster fire, right? I wasn't expecting like just mediocre reviews at all, because so many, like, not to like put blame on the internet, but the internet likes to kind of make things bigger than they are. People more, set people up on a pedestal, whether they deserve it or not. Not that Kojima doesn't deserve a lot of the praise he gets, right? Like, Metal Gear is a very important franchise for the PlayStation, specifically. I think he's a really smart and interesting developer that deserves a lot for what he's done in this industry, right? But for him to be let loose like this, and him being kind of known for being weird and some things being super realistic and other things being way out there and super crazy, like look at Metal Gear. Like, that's a super realistic kind of military shooter with a lot of weird paranormal things, like I don't know, a sniper that can't wear clothes because she breathes through her skin, or, like doing stealth missions but flying in on a helicopter playing loud 80s music, and you collect cassette tapes to play that music, right? Like, there's a lot of weird things that he does, and it's always really fascinating, right? Like, I've never really been into Metal Gear, really, honestly, but I've always been interested in it from a how weird it is standpoint. So I think the Kojima thing with the reviews and stuff is a very interesting case, but also, sorry everybody if you hear my kid crying, she just woke up from her nap. But I think in general people wait for reviews to say, am I going to buy it now? Am I going to wait till Black Friday? Am I going to wait for birthdays or Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever holidays you celebrate? Like, and I think a lot of us are different because, Jesse, I don't think you waited for the Modern Warfare review before you bought it, right? You're a huge Call of Duty fan and you want to play Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, I guess I didn't really wait for a review, but I felt, with listening to podcasts, you kind of got an advantage because a lot of times they talk about it and stuff ahead of time. Yeah. So I guess technically the reviews, because I almost wasn't going to get it because of the whole, I thought the parts that were being cut out that were, Xbox wasn't going to get until a year later.
Yeah.
I was kind of upset about that. But then when I found out that with Xbox, they had some things set up where if you bought Modern Warfare, you basically got a $5 gift card. Enough points to get a $5 gift card. So I was still technically saving money on buying it on Xbox because of their point system. Therefore, I felt like that negated the fact that I wasn't getting the full game, which I guess turns out that thing that PlayStation got early that we are not getting for a year is garbage anyways, so I'm not really missing out on anything. Because it's not working as properly, and it's not working as well as people want it to. So
the thing with Modern Warfare, I think people were, when they found out Infinity Ward was doing it, but all the people from Respawn that went back to Infinity Ward, I think that gave a lot of people more
hope.
This turning out as a better game and really buying it, because regardless of how people took upon Black Ops 4, this feels like this is kind of like a restart for the Call of Duty series. And a lot of people, we talked about it, $600 million sales in 3 days. That's a lot of good sales. And people have talked about more of the story. I can't speak more on this multiplayer or anything, because problem with the multiplayer that I'm seeing, and then maybe just on my Xbox, I'm seeing a lot of people still, they're playing the Call of Duty Modern Warfare for the campaign, but they're playing Black Ops 4 for the multiplayer. And it's kind of weird. I thought people would be playing more of the multiplayer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about it.
The multiplayer is really good, but the problem is there's a podcast I listen to called the Stephen Kyle podcast, and I actually messaged Kyle because I know that he had gotten Call of Duty games in the past or whatever, and so I had asked him if he was planning on getting it, and he said that he had pre-ordered it. And I had messaged him last night, asked him, what he's been thinking of it and stuff like that, and I mentioned that the multiplayer is a little bit, plays quite a bit differently in a way, that I kind of wasn't used to, and it takes a little getting used to. And one of the issues that they're having is the game, the way it, just like every Call of Duty game, they're gonna have to tweak respawns and all that things until they can finally get it to be working just perfectly, because things like that aren't easy to just say, hey, I'm gonna spawn you here or there and get it perfect right away. It's just things that you've got to kind of look, I feel like, at data to kind of really map it out and figure out where the best places for respawns and things like that are. But the way this game plays is just different enough that I can, like, it turned him off on it. Like, he just wasn't doing and playing as well as he would in the other Call of Duty games, just because it does play a little bit differently. It feels like almost more realistic in a lot of ways, where like your kill streaks and things like that aren't necessarily as easy to use. Like there's one where you can get the where you call in airstrikes, but like you have this pen that's got a laser on it, and you have to shine that laser and click the button to pick where you want it to launch, instead of where in the past you would have where you'd pull up a screen of the map, and then you could pick exactly where on the map you want it to go, which is easier because you can then pick anywhere on the map. Whereas with this laser, you can only do it wherever you're physically going or are in order to call it in a certain area of the map. You know, okay. So there's things like that are more realistic, and just I can see where it would turn people off, where it's a little bit more difficult to use and they're having some camping issues and things like that, where a lot of people are camping, and but
I kind of wonder why, when it comes to reviews versus the reader, or the consumer, it's just like, if a game is actually doing good, we got into a culture where Metacritic can affect a game. Like if a game is doing good and getting high reviews, there are certain people who are doing their best to break it down. Whereas when some people who look at reviews like Death Stranding, who just want to clown it because it's a game that they don't know and they don't understand, and really not to play it because it's so different, it's so new. It's kind of weird to see why the way we respond to a review or to an actual game that's succeeding, why we always, in this gaming community, I should say, like to respond negative and think that what we could do to hurt it will bring it down.
Like for me, like I want to kind of get into like my answer to the whole like Death Stranding thing. Okay, so like I don't have a PS4, and like, but personally, like I just never was interested in this game. But like, so I've been hearing reviews of like, like the people, like a Giant Bomb just did a massive, or Giant Beast Cast did a massive review on it, and they did a really in-depth thing and like went into all the things they hated and all the things they liked, and half of them like didn't hate the game. They enjoyed and they were glad that they experienced it. But especially the Kojima fan, Dan of the group, he just absolutely was like I wish I was doing anything other than playing this game. And so like my issue with when it comes to like reviewers versus consumers is like more and more I am just like ignoring consumers' reviews and the Metacritic and all those things, like because it either seems like a lot of times things are either getting praised without any kind of like like realistic criticism, or like we were saying with the like where people are just like massive super fans, where they're willing to overlook a lot of things that the average person, if they were to experience, would find it to be negative. And if you're not giving a realistic review and like pointing out everything, including things that a lot of people might not like, I don't feel like that's a very useful review then, because then you're setting people up to be disappointed. And so like I feel like when it comes to critics, a lot of the times they have the ability to put their differences or their their fandom aside. I mean, there's still, the fandom is fandom. It's still gonna affect things, but I feel like the critics do a better job of putting things aside. And so like when I listen to a critic's review, there's gonna be certain things that I feel like I'm going to get from their reviews versus listening to what other people's reviews.
Right, because
and I'm not gonna. I never take a critics or people's reviews in any way to 100% be the deciding factor of my choice. But that all depends though. Like if there's certain things like mechanics and story and like bug or issues like that with the game, like there's certain things like that are gonna be make up like the difference between me getting a game and not.
And I think with some consumers, they don't realize that when you're pointing out pros and cons, you have to do it in a way that gets across, saying that this pro right here, it works, but some of this negatives kind of affect that pro. And you kind of got to be reasonable. I think with some consumers who don't put their not put their all, who don't sometimes get reviews, they just want to see a score and move on and make that judgment. A lot of people sometimes don't think that just saying something sucks isn't a definitive answer to why the game is for what it is. Like, if you are going to, as a consumer, rant and rave on a game in a negative manner, you just can't say, well, this sucks, this is garbage, you shouldn't play this, because that doesn't do anything. People want the context of it, and a critic or a reviewer, job is to give you the context of why they come to that score, why they come to that opinion, to that review. They got to give context to it. Go ahead, Corey.
Which is why, like, for the future of what we're doing, like we're discussing doing something like a video game a book club type thing, right? Where like we have these deeper discussions on games, whether they're new games, old games, popular games, bad games. Like we want to have discussion. We want to have that discussion because like a review score isn't everything, right? Look at Control, that game. Yeah. Not that game reviewed poorly. Like I think it got a lot of 7s and 8s, right? But like just the way that people talk about that game makes you think that game got a 9.5 across the board, right? Like it does so many unique things, cool things. Remedy really took their time and did a lot to make that game what it is. But it didn't review like great. It reviewed good, but it didn't review great. And that's why like reading the reviews or listening to video discussions or listening to podcasts about like or Jesse, like you said about Modern Warfare, like just listening to the discussions that people are having surrounding the game is almost more important than the review score itself, which is why I think a lot of sites kind of got rid of review scores. Not a lot of sites, but some major, like I know Polygon doesn't. I don't read a lot of Polygon, but I know they got rid of review scores, right? Because they want the words to mean more than just scrolling down to the bottom of a page. And like, to be fair, when a review comes out, the first thing I do is scroll through the article and look at the score, right? Like that's something I do. And I know IGN actually started putting their review scores on the thumbnail, and then they stopped because nobody was clicking on their article. But they like the first thing I do is scroll through the whole thing and look at the number and see like, oh, okay. And I was actually like, when the Death Stranding review came up, I was like actually surprised that game on multiple sites got below 8s. just
No,
because
like
of
Callie Peg from GameSpot, she gave it a 9. I think that's the highest for right now. I know Game Informer gave it a 7. IGN gave it a 6.8. But IGN Japan gave it a 9 something. It was like a 2.7 difference between it, I think. But
I know there are a couple more that there's one that I forget who it was that gave it like a 3 out of 5.
Right. And I think one thing a lot of people got to understand is that you sometimes got to know a developer's work. So if Control is your first game, Remedy has a lot of stuff. The Max Payne games, Quantum Break,
and like I think Control is a game that I would really like for us to have a game club style discussion on. I think it's what Game Informer has done with their game clubs, and what the new MinMax guys are doing. Like I really like their deepest dives on they're doing the Outer Worlds right now, and I really think that those discussions, like really the deep dive on games, is something that I would really love us to look at doing, because I think the discussion is so important.
Yeah, and I think that's why when I talk about trying a game, buying a game, renting a game, when you actually get your hands on it, not just seeing it, when you literally need to get your hands on it and work your way through it. I'm there's a lot of stuff that I say about a lot of games, but I make my way through the game, and at some point in time, my whole opinion can change about it. I talk about Horizon. I didn't like that trailer, and I wasn't going to buy Horizon, but I was willing to give Guerrilla Games a try because I played their Killzone series, and I know they're great developers. And going past through what they shown in the trailer, there was a lot that I got out of that game that I did not expect to love. And I love the fact that they literally, I'm just like, why you didn't give me this or tease me this to like showcase your game? Why did you hide it behind that trailer? I think more people sometimes got to get past the trailers for some things and really give it a try. I think Death Stranding was just, we didn't get enough of what it was. What is the goal about this?
Yeah. Well, I think the issue with that, why you are seeing low scores, like just from the communication or the talk and stuff that I've seen, is like Kojima, his games are known for like the really good like stories and just the weirdness and all that stuff. But like what I've been hearing is that the story is just really lacking. Like they're just it's just not like some of the people on Giant Beast felt like he honestly didn't even go full Kojima on it in some ways, like enough, so that's the thing for me. Like I think when it comes to reviews too, though, like I think with a game like you can just watch it and know if you're gonna like it, just like, because I feel like that works okay for games that are based around like your interest is based around like what the story's about. But when it comes to mechanics and stuff like that, I don't feel like you can get a proper feel of whether mechanics are good or bad in a game unless you play it.
Right.
So
you don't know how everything is tight versus things that's not working.
Yeah. So if you're buying a game or you're wondering about a game and your main interest of that game is if the story is going to be good, then I say like if you're buying a game for a story, then you should definitely watch and read about the story a little bit and before you buy a game, and that's fine. But I
understand. Learn what the premise is of the game.
Yeah.
Don't watch the whole story, but learn what the premise of the game. And then go. And if you're a person who spend money on stuff that really don't benefit your life in a sense, I think you could take a chance on a game and really pick something up and own it. If you want to trade it in because you don't like it, you have that ability to do it. But I'm just like, sometimes you would never know that you would buy a game and in later years it might be a collectible, it might be a classic. Look at Luigi, and we're going to end this discussion because I know our time is close. But before you answer, Corey, look at Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion got clowned on GameCube. Like, people were just like, it's an okay game, but it's not what they should have did. They should have did with Mario Sunshine. Now people are looking at Luigi's Mansion on GameCube like it's a classic.
Yeah.
Like, and it's crazy.
Especially with Luigi's Mansion 3 out now. But
right.
you know, and you know, I know we are kind of running out of time, but like the review isn't always what the game is going to end up being anyways too, right? Like, you look at these games as a service when they first come out, they could be like 6s or 7. Like, you look at Destiny, right?
Perfect example.
A game that got 6s and got, you know, kind of destroyed verbally at the beginning and through its first year, and then the Taken King came out. That game's all of a sudden a 9. People are loving it. There's so much content. You know what I mean? Like, it's the way that games evolve now. The score, like, and that's why major sites start reviewing games, right? Like, I know Splatoon 2 got re-reviewed. I know Destiny gets re-reviewed after every expansion. You know what I mean? So you got to take that into consideration too. And I know that's very few and far between, but the games as a service games in particular, you really need to, like, that's where I think micro communities are so important too, you know, where like you have for Destiny and specifically you have Professor Broman and King Gathalion and Dado. Like, you follow those guys to know what's really happening in Destiny. You don't really follow IGN, even though, you know, they have Fireteam Chat, which is a good source for Destiny stuff, but like you don't really follow the major sites for what these games as a service are. You follow the personalities. So
right, because those personalities sometimes represent what that game that you've been looking for, or you want to know some things about it. So with that, everybody, we're going to continue this discussion another time because I do want to get Ray's opinion about it. But thank you guys for watching. This has been the NX Show. I have been your host, Eddie V, our West Wisconsinite, Jesse Douglas, and our producer, as always, boss man, Corey Derrick. Where can we find each and every one of you? Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me just about everywhere as Phantom NXS.
Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me at CoreyNHD713 on Twitter and CoreyNHD on Instagram and Mixer.
Yes.
Please follow us because it's going to be a good time.
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode and check out Optional Opinion and Nintendo Power Block at this point on YouTube. I would say just that. You can check Ray Apollo at Ray Apollo on Twitch and on Twitter. Like I said, everybody, be ready because we have a big announcement and we cannot ready to
and we're
announce it.
One week we're going to dedicate a whole show to it, right?
Yes.
We're just going to dedicate a whole show. No news, no what we've been playing, or well, maybe we'll talk about what we've been playing afterwards, but like we're going to dedicate a whole show on like our future, the content, what we kind of feel like we think we are able to do and what we want, because we want to build a community that's strong and fun and can help contribute and stuff like that. So stay tuned.
Yes. So everybody have a great week. Have a great weekend. If you're watching Extra Life, if you guys have been watching Extra Life or you enjoyed Extra Life, by the time this episode come out, hopefully you guys did contribute and you really got a kick out of various people playing games. With that, everybody, we will see you next time on the next show. Who knows? Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.